Imagine a creature that doesn't roar, doesn't chase, doesn't even breathe, just prays forever. The Penitent Husk is a walking contradiction, part corpse, part relic, part divine error. Cloaked in ragged skin and reverent stillness, it drifts through defiled cathedrals like a forgotten hymn, hands clasped, eyes absent and crowned with a halo of thorned bone. It doesn't attack with claws, it waits with purpose. And when it does move, it moves like sorrow itself. Here's the twist. This isn't just another horror monster. The Penitent Husk is a tool for world building. It doesn't want to kill your players. It wants to remind them of something sacred, something broken. Use it to mark places of ancient betrayal, blood-stained sanctuaries, temples whose gods no longer answer. Place them in forgotten abbeys where they stand in eerie stillness until someone speaks a prayer. And then every head turns. Want a real curveball? They don't attack clerics. They follow them perfectly. Every bow, every gesture, every chant mimicked, like grotesque reflections of faith. Whether you treat it as a divine punishment, an emotional parasite, or a relic bearing witness to broken pacts, the Penitent Husk changes the conversation at your table. It's not just a fight, it's a question in flesh form. Here's a challenge. What prayer did your world forget to answer, and who or what is still waiting to hear it? But behind every haunting presence lies something older, something that deserves a closer look. If you're brave enough to step beyond the fog, here's what locals claim to have seen when they dared to watch it pray. The Penitent Husk stands motionless in a crimson fog like a priest mid-prayer, cloaked in sagging flesh and sanctified rot. Its arms, skinless and weeping, are pressed together in eternal supplication as if pleading with the gods long dead, or worse, listening for a reply. Its head is a pulsing mass of veined meat without eyes or mouth, crowned with a floating halo of thorns that twitch subtly in response to thought or scent. It doesn't walk, it drifts, dragging the rags of its own skin behind it, staining the ground with violet ichor. Witnesses report the smell of old incense and butchered meat moments before it arrives. When it moves, it exhales no sound until it reaches striking distance, where the prayer breaks into a wet, gurgling scream. We don't bury our dead near the chapel ruins. Not since one stood up mid-sermon, hands clasped, whispering through a throat that it didn't have. It's one thing to see a husk, it's another to find where it lingers. These creatures don't just haunt, they belong to the places where belief curdled and died. The Penitent Husk haunts blighted monasteries, ruined sanctuaries, and forgotten grave shrines soaked in betrayal. It gravitates toward places once sacred but now defiled, especially sites where divine rituals ended in slaughter or silence. Within these desecrated zones, the husk builds no nest and claims no lair. It simply waits, head bowed, communing in a trance of endless penance. Some say there's never just one. Entire abbeys have been found silent but upright, filled with dozens of them locked in symmetrical prayer, unmoving, until someone speaks a prayer aloud. Then they all turn. The most unsettling behavior? They don't attack clergy, at least not at first. Instead, they follow them at a precise distance, mimicking each motion like grotesque acolytes. Yet even among bones and broken altars, the question remains, why does it endure? To understand the husk, you have to understand the world it feeds on and what it leaves behind. The Penitent Husk does not feed in any natural way. Scholars propose it subsists on ambient guilt, ancestral memory, or divine decay. It is drawn to emotional residue, locations where grief, betrayal, or failed miracles echo in the air like rot in the soil. It does not reproduce biologically. Instead, it converts. Victims slain in its presence may rise days later as husks themselves, their minds wiped, their flesh reformed by ambient sorrow. Its body regenerates slowly when exposed to prayer, any prayer, even ones of opposing faiths. This has led to desperate debates among scholars and cultists alike. Is the creature a parasite of belief or a byproduct of faith unfulfilled? Some theologians whisper it is not a monster but a witness, that each husk records a broken covenant, standing vigil until the God in question makes amends. If so, it may not be praying at all. It may be waiting for an answer. Of course, stories like this don't stay in tomes and bestiaries. They root themselves in places, passed on through whispered warnings, too real to be myth. And in Hollow Ridge, one such tale still stains the ground. They say the fog never used to turn red in Hollow Ridge, not until the prayer went wrong. The old folks won't speak of the priest by name anymore, only call him the one who asked too loud. They say he stood at the altar during the storm of Saints' Eves, hands raised, voice cracked and bitter with grief. His whole flock had perished the week before, plague, fire, some say worse, and he begged the gods to give him something back. What he got was silence, and the silence stayed. 3 nights later the chapel bled, not from the roof or walls but from the floor, dark violet and warm as breath. And in the center, where the priest had stood, something rose. Not him, not quite. It held its hands in prayer, but the skin had sloughed off like wet cloth. Its head had no eyes, no mouth, just veins and twitching meat, and behind it a ring of thorns floated, spinning slow. Now they say if you pass too close to the ruins, you smell old incense and butcher's blood. If you speak a prayer aloud, it will hear you. And if your heart isn't clean, it will follow. They say the husk doesn't hunt, it waits. For an apology no one knows how to give. Mothers still whisper to crying babies, "Hush now, or the red saint will kneel beside your bed." And when storms roll in red and low, the hunters leave a coin by the chapel gate muttering, "May the gods forget us before it remembers." So that's the Penitent Husk, a creature that doesn't stalk its prey, just waits for your faith to falter. Part relic, part warning, and all sorrow. It's less of a monster and more of a memory that never left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into dark divinity, be sure to like, subscribe, and explore more eerie lore and RPG storytelling right here on the channel. And remember, next time you pray in a ruined chapel, make sure someone or something isn't already listening.